Hey guys, this is Let's Just Kid from ClimaxCombo, and we are back with another Leaks of the Week. This week we are just continuing off with Milky Holmes, since Milky Holmes is the only set that is going to be released on the month of March. I believe it's coming out on the 26th, so yeah. I'm still behind on my Leaks of the Week, so this week will consist of, or this video, I should say, will consist of March 9th through March 13th. And yeah, and like always, before we get started, I would like to mention that I don't own a Milky Holmes deck, and none of my close friends owns a Milky Holmes deck, so I don't have that much experience playing it. However, I do have slight knowledge of the deck because I've played good Milky Holmes players in the past. So yeah, if I am missing any obvious synergy or just missing anything in general, do let me know in the comments below. But yeah, I guess now I will get started. So to start things off, for Monday, March 9th, we have the 00 Alice. She's 1500, she's an R. She's a global 500 for detectives, which is not bad right off the bat. But second of all, she has another effect of you can pay one, put two characters to rest. If you do, choose one character from your clock and return it to your hand. Then choose a card from your hand and return it to the clock. This card is not bad because A, it's a 500 global. However, for detectives though, and a lot of the cards are detectives, so it shouldn't be too hard to manage. But do keep in mind, not all the cards are detectives, so just something to think about. But her secondary effect isn't that good because you have to put two characters to rest. If you are not familiar with how Milky Holmes play, they have their gimmick slash mechanic is based off the fact that you put a card from your level up zone and you swap it with a card in your waiting room. And when you do so, uh, your characters receive extra benefits like extra power, extra game ending abilities, etc., etc. So yeah, but to do the level swapping, there are certain cards that allow you to do so. But in order to level swap, you need to rest two cards. So usually, a Milky Holmes player is constantly resting their back row to do the level swapping shenanigans. That way, their characters receive extra benefits. However, this card, the secondary effect requires you to tap two characters, meaning that on the turn that you want to use the secondary effect, you cannot level swap, and that may hurt you in accomplishing what you want to do, such as killing your opponent's characters, since your characters will not receive extra benefits. But still, this card is a 500 global, and if you do want a 500 global, then perhaps you can consider this Alice, and perhaps if there's a turn where you can find the opportunity to use its secondary effect, then perhaps you can do so, or you can just purely use this Alice as a 500 global. I'm not too familiar with the back row of Milky Holmes, so if they have a better 500 global, let me know, because then I guess this card doesn't really have a merit. But if there is no 500 global for Milky Holmes, then I guess this card is not bad just because of the fact it's a 500 global for detectives. But yeah, anyways, let's go on. So this one's a 105k uncommon detective and pajamas. What she does is she has experience. When you have aspiring to be a detective Kazumi in your level area, this card gains plus 1500 power. This card, aspiring to be a detective Kazumi, is the level 3 we saw last week. Uh, Not gonna go over it, but I guess a little briefly. I'll go over a little briefly. The aspiring to be detective Kazumi seems like they're trying to push this Kazumi slash Alice deck. If you want to run this Kazumi, you have to run this Alice, and there's a lot of cards that benefit having Kazumi slash Alice's in your deck, such as this level 2 backup. So yeah, another card to push the Kazumi slash Alice theme, and this is one of them. If you're running these two together, you should definitely consider this level 1 because it's a 1065 if you have aspiring to be a Detective Kazumi in your level up area, and you need to have one in your level up area to fulfill the level 3's condition. So, why not do so? So, definitely a very good choice if you're running the Kazumi slash Alice deck. If not, this card has no benefit whatsoever. Next up, we have a 1-1 Alice, 4-5R detective. What she does is she's an assist. All your detective characters in front of this gain power plus X, where X is the level of that character times 500, so a level assist only for detectives though. And he has another effect of when this card is played from hand to stage, you may pay cost, which is pay 1, discard a card. If you do, search your deck for up to one character with experience ability, show it to your opponent, add it to your hand, then shuffle your deck. First of all, a level assist for the Alice slash Kazumi deck is not bad at all. However, her secondary effect isn't the greatest, I'd say, because you have to grab an experience ability character which is not bad. Like this Alice here has experience. However, like you can't grab everything. Like for example, this level assist herself, she doesn't have experience, so you can't grab another one. Um, the Alice here, the level 3 Alice, does not have experience, so you can't grab a level 3 Alice. However, you can grab something like the level 3 Kazumi. So, definitely not bad if you're running the Alice slash Kazumi deck. I mean, you might as well, because it's a level assist, and her secondary effect is good. However, not as good as it can be because it has to grab an experienced character. But still, if you're running the Alice and Kazumi deck, as you can see, there's already 4 here, another 4 here, so that's 8 targets. I'm sure there will be more in this deck, so at least you could grab a couple cards, and it's a good hand filter. So, solid card for the Alice slash Kazumi deck. And all the Alice and Kazumis seem to be detectives. Yep, detective, 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 detective. So yeah, definitely a good choice. Next up, we have another card, so 1025R Eddie. She's detective and book. What she does, she's 500 in front assist, and she has another effect of when any of your characters triggers a climax during their trigger check, and the trigger icon is a treasure, you may pay cost, which is discard a card. If you do, choose one card from your clock and add it to your hand, then place the top card of your deck to the clock. And as another effect of place 2 of your detective characters to rest, swap one card from your level area and one card in your waiting room. This Eddie I think is quite interesting. First of all, 500 assist is not bad at all. Definitely a good thing to have. And next up, it has a very interesting secondary effect. It reminds me of the cards in Haruhi, like the level 0 Haruhi that pops cost 0 characters, I believe, when you trigger a gate. This Eddie is very similar to that, except however instead of gates, it works in conjunctions with gold bar slash treasure. So when you trigger a treasure, you have to add the treasure to the gold bar to your hand, then you can get a blind stock. And then her effect ability goes off, so that way you can discard a card to grab a card in your clock, add it to your hand, then you clock a card. You break even because you do have to discard a card, however, you get a card in your clock and return it to your hand, but then you do clock yourself 1 damage. I think this card is I think it's pretty good if you're running a lot of gold bars. Let's say you want to run the new level 3 Eddie that we saw last week that works in conjunction with the gold bar. This Eddie might not be bad at all because when you trigger a gold bar, you get a free hand filter. And if you don't want to have the gold bar in your hand that you just added, because you trigger checked it, you can always discard it and then get another card from your clock and add it to your hand. Quite a versatile card, very good hand filter. It's costless and it gives you a free hand filter when you do gold bar, and it has the level swap ability. It has a level zone swap ability, which is also very good for the Milky Holmes deck. So in general, a very solid card if you're running 4 gold bars. If you're running, I would say, if you're running gold bars of any form, not any form, maybe you're running 3 to 4 gold bars. 2, I would say, is a little too little, maybe. If you're running, I would say 3 to 4 gold bars, you can consider running this Eddie because it's a very good hand filter. It has a 500 front assist and it has the level swapping area. So no real bad parts about this card, to be honest. So yeah, awesome. Next up, we have another card to event uncommon food collection. Choose one card from your clock and add it to your hand, then place this card into memory. Quite an interesting heal event. I don't think we've seen these in a while, but well, no, we saw the Rin event in Love Live, so scratch that. Anyways, heal event. You pay 2, you get a card in your clock, add it to your hand, and then this card goes into memory, so it breaks even because you get the card in your clock, and then you add it to your hand. It's any card in your clock actually, so you don't have to choose the top card. You can choose any card in your clock and add it to your hand, and then this card goes into memory. Not bad at all. You get to heal, which is awesome. This card goes to memory, increase your compression, and you break even. So, solid card. I guess only problem is if you're playing against anti-heal, which is still relevant, then this card is 100% dead, and that really sucks because there's no side decking in Weiss. So if you're up against like a Contai player who runs Hibiki, or if you're running against Vivid Red or Gargantia, what have you, Little Busters even, then it kind of sucks having a super dead card in your hand. So can be iffy because nobody likes dead cards and no side decking. So just that part is a little iffy. However, if you're not playing against an anti-heal deck, then if you run multiple of these food collection events, then at level 2, if you constantly spam this event, it can be very annoying and problematic for your opponent because it would be hard for them to push you to level 3. However, do keep in mind, of course, that if you are using this effect, if you are spamming this heal event at level 2, your level 3 game might be a little gimped, might be a little hurt because you don't have that much stock because you are always healing. Do keep in mind, at level 3, you could just play a level 3 that heals. You know, you could play the level 3 Halloween PR, you could play the level 3, you could play any level 3 that heals and you get better benefits. So this card's only really good at level 2, I'd say. At level 3, why not pay 2 and play a level 3 and heal instead of paying 2 stock for an event that heals and then going to memory and then, healing a card. Because that way, you don't really build field presence. So just something to keep in mind, I guess, if you really want to be annoying and just constantly heal, then you can run a couple of these and just keep healing at level 2. But then, like I said, at level 3, it becomes a little more. It's not as awesome, and it's not a backup either. So you can't really like surprise or go for like clutch healings at the end because it's not a backup. So you can only use it during your turn. And like I said, during your turn, why not just pay 2, play a level 3, and then heal? But still, despite me saying all that, I do think this card has potential. If I saw a player running a couple of these food collection cards, I wouldn't be too surprised. But if they didn't run any, like I said, just like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if they choose to run none or if they choose to run a couple because healing is always cool. And if no one in your meta or none of your friends run any anti-heal and you want to be a jerk, and the Milky Holmes deck can build a lot of stock. I've seen there's a couple cards that build you blind stock in green actually. So since they have an assist, I believe, where you tap it and you gain a blind stock, if you run the stock building assist, you can use in conjunction with this Act 2/2 event, and then since you're building so much stock, it pretty much pays for this event, and then you can keep healing. I didn't think about that, but now that I do, this card can be more potent. Maybe if you build that stock building variant of Milky Holmes, then I think this event is definitely a solid choice in that build. So yeah, can work out in that stock building build. It's definitely good in the stock building variant of Milky Holmes, but if you're running the normal version, then I don't think it's a mandatory card. But anyways, well, let's go on. Tuesday we have Kokoro. She's this is her triple R art. Anyway, she's 3/2/10K. I'm assuming she's a double R because I don't think we've seen a red double R yet. So I'm assuming this is her triple R variant art because she's a level 3. So I'm assuming she's double R, but this is a triple R art. Kind of cute. Funny. Anyways, she's police and mask. What she does is if you have 2 or more other 5 seconds before interruption Kokoro on your stage, this loses 1 level in your hand. If you guys, the card 5 seconds before interruption Kokoro is this level 0, which I will go over shortly. There's another effect that once played from hand to stage, reveal top card of your deck. If that card is a police character, you may deal 1 damage to your opponent. And lastly, as another effect of when you play a climax on your climax border, this card gains plus 1500 until the end of the turn. 5 seconds before interruption Kokoro is 002K are police and mask. What she does is when she's played from hand to stage, choose one of your other police characters. It gets plus 1K until the end of the turn. And it has another effect of pay 1, place this card to rest, mill top 4 cards. And for every climax you hit, choose 1 police character in your waiting room and add it to your hand. The 3/2 10K, the 3/2 Kokoro is not bad because it can come out as early as level 2. The only condition is that you need to have 2 or more of the other Kokoro in the field. This other Kokoro on her own is actually a very solid card because on play she gives something plus 1K, and she does have a plus brainstorm. Like I said in the previous video when I talked about the other plus brainstorm, Milky Holmes did not have a plus brainstorm until this booster, so them having access to plus brainstorm is good. Any set having access to plus brainstorm honestly is really good. I wished Angel Beats got a plus brainstorm in the re-edit set, but they didn't. But anyways, so plus brainstorm in general very solid. This nonetheless is a plus brainstorm, so of course a very solid card. It can only grab polices, so you can only grab something like Kokoro or the other polices that we've talked about last week, I believe. Yeah, so you can only grab polices. Sorry, just scrolling down. Yeah, you could use in conjunction with all these other polices that we talked about last week. So, yeah, so of course you're going to need a police heavy deck to do so, and yeah. So if you're running a police heavy deck, which is possible, because last week we saw some pretty good police cards like a 1/1 Clock Encore Giver, level 1 Suicider, nice filter for police cards. So yeah, some pretty solid police cards, so could be possible. I don't know what other police cards Milky Holmes has to offer, but if they are pretty good, then all that much more power to the police builds. So if you're running a police heavy deck, then I would definitely say you should run this Kokoro, because this Kokoro, it's an advanced summon level 3. Honestly, it's not the greatest advanced summon level 3, because like its third effect is like meh. When you play a climax, it only gets plus 15 for the turn, so she becomes 11/5 base when you play climax, which is cool and all, but not like the greatest. And of course, I would say you would have to run this in a police heavy deck, because their second ability requires you to reveal top, and if it is a police, then you burn one. If you're running this in conjunction with all those detectives, her second ability is going to be pretty hard to manage unless you have some kind of top check ability. But to keep it all the more consistent, just keep this in the police builds, I'd say. So I'd say definitely mandatory for the police builds. And if you use this in conjunction with the 1/1 assist we saw last week that gets Clock Encore, that can be very frustrating for your opponent to deal with, because it has Clock Encore, and that's just really annoying. A 3/2 that comes out at level 2 with Clock Encore, it's already hard enough to deal with it, and add Clock Encore on top of that, and you might, you could give your opponent quite a hard time. Of course, this does not go around certain anti-changes. Some anti-changes put the level 3 into like the bottom of the deck, top of the deck, what have you. Some anti-changes don't send them to the waiting room, and if they don't send them to the waiting room, you can Clock Encore. So you're gonna have to keep in mind that this the Clock Encore on the level 3 does not work on every anti-change, but it does work on a couple anti-changes, the ones that send them to the waiting room. But still, despite the anti-changing running amok, still very solid card, and definitely I would say staple for the police build. So yeah, more power to the police builds. Anyways, let's go on. 1/6KR Kazumi. Once again, she's detective. What she does is during the start of your own turn, this card gains plus 1k, and it has Clock Encore. This card is pretty much exactly similar to the 1/1 Kuroyuki Hime in Axel World. That card is okay, and this Kazumi, just like that, Kuroyuki Hime is just okay. It's a 1/1. It's pretty much a 1/1 with Clock Encore, and during your turn, it's 7k. So, it's meh. But it does have Clock Encore, and it hits 7k during your turn. So if you're running the Kazumi and Alice builds and you want Encore, then of course this Kazumi is gonna fit right up your alley. If you're not running, for the normal builds, I don't think you should be really running this card. They have the 1/0 card that gets it's a 1/04k. It gets 500 per detective on the field, and it has Hand Encore. You might as well be running that, because it's it's always going to be 106k so long as you have a full field, and it has Hand Encore, and it's costless. I think that card is a better alternative than this, to be honest. So just me, I don't really think it's good in the normal builds, but yeah. Also, I don't think it doesn't seem. Never mind. I'll just leave it at that. So don't really see it working in the normal builds, to be completely honest, but who knows? It might be. It has Clock Encore. Let's go on. 105k common. IDO affiliated Kazumi's father, detective and classes. What he does is when he's played from hand to stage, you may pay cost, which is discard a card. If you do, choose one Phantom Thief debut from your waiting room and return it to your hand. Phantom Thief debut is this 1/0 event. It's an uncommon. What it does is when you play this event, look at the top 4 cards of your deck, choose one character with Alice or Kazumi in its name, add it to your hand, and discard the remaining amount. This event is, of course, pretty good if you're running the Kazumi/Alice build, because it allows you, it's pretty much a free brainstorm, but you got to grab an Alice or Kazumi in the process. And if you're running a lot of Alice and Kazumis, of course this card becomes pretty good because you have a lot of targets for it. So yeah, of course, good in the Alice/Kazumi build. However, if not, then there's no point. If you're running a couple of these events, and then I would say this IDO Kazumi's father is pretty good because it lets you grab for the event. The cost for grabbing this event is discarding a card. From what I've seen so far, the Alisha Kazumi builds that synergize with each other, they don't have any discard outlet. They don't have a card that just lets them, discard, let's say, a climax from your hand, or just not one that I can remember. This guy lets you discard cards, meaning you could discard a climax, and in the process, you can grab an event. That's not bad at all. So, if you're running a couple of this event, then you might as well just run one or two of these dads. I don't think you can go wrong with that. So, yeah, cool little combo for the Alisan Kazumi build. Next up, Wednesday, more level 3s, man. Milky Holmes is getting so many level 3s in this set. Anyways, there's a 3/2 10k double R Detective and Sweets. It's Nero, or Netto. What she does is when she's played from hand to stage, and you have 4 or more detectives on your field, you may gain a blind stock. It has another effect of when it's played from hand to stage. Choose up to one of your opponent's character, return it to the hand, and the card gains plus 2k until the end of the turn. This card synergizes with the next card here, so I will talk about this next card. First, this next card is a 2/1/7/5 uncommon Christmas Girl Nettle. She's Detective and Sweets, once again. What she does is when she's played from hand to stage, you may pay cost, which is pay 1, discard a card. If you do, choose one climax in your waiting room and return it to your hand. There's another effect of when the climax, the fluffy things in the forest, is on your climax zone, which is this stock 1 soul, I believe. Yes, free stock 1 soul. So when you have the stock 1 soul climax in your climax border, you may pay cost, which is sending this to waiting room. If you do, choose up to one Yukata Dress Netto or Overdrive Tokai Soda from your hand and place it onto the original border of this card. So the Yukata Dress Netto is of course this one. I actually don't know what this Overdrive Tokui Soda card is. If you guys know what this other card is, once again, please let me know. I don't know the entire set, like I said, so yeah, for now I'm just gonna judge it off the level 3 that it brings out that we see here, the Yukata Dress Netto. So, I guess first off we'll go off with this level 3. The level 3 herself is not bad at all, because when she's played from hand to stage and you have 4 or more detective, which is not very hard to accomplish because most of the set is detective, then you gain a blind stock. So you're essentially playing her for 1 stock, since you do get the blind stock. However, her secondary effect is quite interesting. When she's played from hand to stage, you get to bounce an opponent's character, and this gains plus 2k until the end of the turn. I don't think I've seen a level 3 like this, the one with the secondary effect. So a new on-play ability, which is always cool to see. And this one is quite interesting because you get to bounce a character, and she gets a lot of power for the turn. Of course, as you can see, this is not restricted to anything, so you can bounce at a level 3, and you could bounce something in the back row. So, you can be against certain sets, this card can be really good. Like, let's say, a prime target for this card to hit is the 3/2 Shiroe from Long Horizon. The 3/2 10k Shiroe, he's, a 2k assist in the back row, and he has the anti-burn ability, which I would imagine would have been problematic for the Milky Holmes player to deal with, because before their game ender was the PR Halloween card. That card burns whenever it reverses an opponent character, and you can't burn your opponent if they have Shiroe on the field, so, something like Netto would take care of something like anti-burn. So this card, that's just one example. You cannot bounce anything. Of course, prime targets for this card to bounce would be cards level 3s that do not have an on-play ability, something like the Hayate from Nanoha, the level 3/2 10k Yuripe from the first booster from Angel Beats, the level 3/2 10k, the 3295 Iori from the movie booster, 3/2 10k Tachibana from Nisekoi, etc., etc. The list goes on. So of course, prime target to hit is level 3s with no on-play ability. So yeah. However, the real merit to this card is that it can come out at level 2, because honestly, this card doesn't affect some decks. Like, if all your opponent's level 3s have on-play abilities, and your opponent's back row is costless, then she honestly doesn't do you much. Like, she comes into play, you get a blind stock, that's cool and all, but, like, yeah, you could bounce something, and it gets plus 2k, so it becomes big power, but, big power and bouncing things doesn't really help you win the game. Like it doesn't heal you, it doesn't it pushes for more damage because you could push a card back up and then you can do one more soul damage by hitting directly. But you know, it's not a double attacker. It's not a burn on play. It's not a burn on attack. It's not a clock shooter. You know what I mean? It doesn't have a very strong endgame ability. So against certain decks, I don't think this card would be that good. So yeah, just matchup is situational, but still not a bad card. I think just you know, depending on what set you're playing, it can either be more powerful or just not as good as it can be, but still a pretty solid card. And also it could come out at level 2, the 2175 uncommon. It's not bad at all because first of all, the change itself is very cheap because she's 2175. For you to change into the level 3, all you need to do is send her to the waiting room when you have to stock 1 soul. So let's say you have the level 2 out, you play the stock 1 soul, you gain a free stock because of the climax itself. Then you send her to the waiting room because it doesn't cost anything besides sending her to the waiting room. And then when you do, you play the Yukata Dress Netto from your hand, specifically from your hand. And since you played this Netto from your hand, assuming you have a full field, which you most likely do, you will gain another free stock. So the level 2 herself costs 1. However, you get it back when you play the stock 1 soul, so you break even on stock, and then you play the Netto from your hand, and then she gains you a free stock. So in total, you plus 1 stock. And then at level 2, she gets to bounce something. If your opponent is running like 2 1s or 2 2s, like 2 1s level assist, or just a 2 1 beater, or they have a 2 2 beater, or even if they have an advanced level 3 summon of their own, something like, you know, they run a 2 to 3 change, you can bounce that, and then she gets really big power. So you get quite a lot of you can get a lot of benefits off this Netto at level 2, like depending on what your opponent has on the field, and all for a very cheap cost. Because like I said, you get a net total of 1 stock if you use her. If you don't use her on play ability. If you use her on play ability, it's still not bad at all because you pay 1, you discard a climax from your hand, and then you could grab the stock 1 soul. So in total, you paid 1 for the level 2. You paid another 1 for her on play ability, but you get a net total of 2 stock because you play her, you minus 1 stock. You use her ability, minus 2 stock. Get the stock 1 soul, play the stock 1 soul, gain 1 stock. Then you play level 3 Netto plus another stock. So in total, you don't lose out on any stock, and you get to bounce an opponent's character, and she gets big power. And so yeah, I think it's a really good. I really like this ability. I really like this changer. I think it's really cool. I'm kind of a stock whore. I really like stock, so this card fits up right up my alley. So yeah, I think this card is really awesome. I think it's super cool. So yeah, it's very cost effective, and it can get you a lot of benefits at level 3. Or it can get you a lot of benefits at level 2. At level 3, not as powerful, but if you can get her off early level 2, then I think she has done her job. She has done a fantastic job at that point, and like I said, depending on certain matchups, she can do a lot of work depending on the matchup. So yeah, Netto, super cool card. I think it's cool, and the art is cute. This Yukata Dress art on all these Milky Holmes cards are just pretty cute, like the Cordelia and the Eddie, just pretty cute art in general. So yeah, I like this Netto a lot. I think it's awesome. Alright, enough rant about that card. Next up is the 1025. It's a backup, it's an R, it's Detective and Sweet. Good old copy of that other backup, the Christmas backup. When you use this, first of all, it's a no-cost 3k backup on a character, but of course the downside is that when you use this backup, swap 1 card in your level area with 1 climax in your waiting room. So that is the downside to using this backup. But of course, it's Milky Holmes, and if you're not familiar, they already had a card just like this in red. Yeah, they had an exact card like this in red. It was a PR in the previous sets, and that card is pretty much a staple 4 of in every Milky Holmes build. But now it is not a PR, now it is reprinted in a booster essentially, however it's in yellow. And I guess the benefit of it being the benefit of having a copy of it in yellow is that, of course, if you're running yellow, you can, run the yellow variant to increase your color count, or you can run 4 of this one and 4 of the PR one, and in total you can have 8 3K no cost backups, but that's kind of overkill. I think 4 is a good number for this backup. So, just run 4 of the red one or run 4 of the yellow one and you should be okay. Or if you want to be cool, you can run 2 and 2. Doesn't matter. I think running 8 is overkill, but I think it's cool that it got I think it's cool that yellow has a copy of it just to fix color count if you ever need it, or if you just like Neto more. So yeah, nothing else to say. The PR backup was staple, and of course, this makes it easier for newer players to get their hand on that PR as well. So yeah, just solid card. Next up is this 1/0 uncommon blatant foreshadowing. What it does is place one of your detective characters in stand to rest. If you do, search your deck for up to one detective character, show it to your opponent, add it to your hand, then shuffle your deck. Like I said in the previous card, the Alice card, whenever Milky Holmes want to level swap, they have to tap their back row, and so their back row is very important to them. And if you're using this event to tap one of your characters in the back row, then you can't do the level swapping for the turn, which may hurt you for the turn and it will hurt you for the turn. So don't really see this event being played just because you have to tap a character, and like I said, tapping is very crucial to the Milky Holmes deck. So just because it taps, I don't really see it being ran. Oops. And lastly, once again, the Stockman Soul is a Climax rare. I think this card is super cool, but whatever, let's go on. Next up, Phantom Thief Day, 2/1/6K uncommon Phantom Thief guy. He's a Phantom Thief and Mask. What he does is he's an assist. Characters in front of him with Alice or cards with a Phantom Thief trait gains plus 1500 power. And it has another effect. It combos with the pants right here, Color of Phantom, which is a Climax common. So during the start of your Encore phase, and if you have the Pants Climax on your Climax border, choose up to 2 of your other characters with Phantom Thief trait or with Alice in their name, place them into memory. Then during the start of your draw phase, place those characters from memory onto separate borders on your stage, and it gains plus 2k until the end of the turn. So this is essentially like the Time Machine Miku from Project Diva, or like the Time Machine Onodeta from Nisekoi, or like the level 3 Rider from Fate Zero. Yeah. The Time Machine Miku is pretty good. The Time Machine Onodeta is also pretty good. However, those are level 1s and they're costless. Oh, that's my phone. Anyways, those are level 1s and they're costless, which makes them, good. However, this one costs 1 because you have to have the assist, which is not bad at all. So, and the Climax combo. Oh, okay. First of all, himself, the card itself, his assist is really good. If you're running a Phantom Thief deck, you should definitely run a couple of this guy because he's a solid 1500 in front assist. He's not a level assist, so if you use him in conjunction with like these level 1s, they get plus 1500 power, which is, a lot of power. So if you're running the Phantom Thief build, this guy is already a mandatory staple for the Phantom Thief builds, in my opinion. So first of all, since he's staple in the Phantom Thief build, that's pretty good. If you're running the Phantom Thief build, you might as well be running a couple of these pants because the main color of the Phantom Thief deck is blue. So if you want to run plus triggers, then they would have to consist of either pants or book. And the pants combo itself is not bad because pants pluses you, and also the pants allows 2 of your characters to survive, and it works in conjunction with these other 2 cards, which we'll see. But since like I said, staple in the Phantom Thief build, and not a bad Climax combo. You save 2 of your characters because when your other 2 characters attack, if they're on reverse or if they're in rest, doesn't matter. They will go into memory and they will come back next turn with plus 2k power, so making them all that much more stronger when they come back, and they will survive guaranteed. The only problem with this is that, of course, since you're putting 2 characters with Phantom Thief trait or Alice into memory, that leaves 2 open slots in your front row, assuming you target 2 cards in your front row, If you target 2 cards in your front row, that makes 2 empty spaces in your front row, making you more susceptible to taking extra damage. If you're confident in your compressed, then this really isn't a problem, because if you think you're going to cancel because of the extra soul that you give your opponent, then that's good. However, if you're not very compressed, it might backfire on you because you might take a lot of damage. Sure, your characters are on memory and they'll come back next turn stronger. However, if you're all of a sudden level 3 because you played this event because of the extra soul damage you took, then you're in a pretty tight situation. So, there's a good, there's the pros, there's a lot of risk to using this card. But if it does go off, like if you use the Climax combo, you send 2 cards to memory. If you cancel, let's say 2 of the hits, you only take like 2 or 3 damage or 1 damage from 1 attack, then it can push you quite far ahead. So yeah, a little risky, but this guy is already pretty good, so you can run the pants combo, and I don't think you can go wrong with it. And next up, these other 2 cards combo with the pants as well. So the next girl is the 1045 uncommon White Phantom Thief Great White Fallen Angel. She's Phantom Thief and Mask. What she does is when you have another Phantom Thief, Black Phantom Thief Dark Side Revolution on your stage, it gets plus 4k power and the following ability. During the end of your turn, place this card into waiting room. The card that this works with is this 1-0, which I'll go over soon. And as another effect of when this card reverses its opponent battle and you have the pants, search your deck for 1 character with Phantom Thief in its name, show it to your opponent, and add it to your hand, then shuffle your deck. The next card that works in conjunction with this 1-0 is this 1045 common. It's Black Phantom Thief Dark Side Revolution. When you have this card, the White Fallen Angel, on the field, she gets plus 4k, and for the turn, she gets plus 4k, but during the end of your turn, you must send her to waiting room. And as another effect of when this card declares an attack with the pants, choose one of your Phantom Thief characters and get plus 2/5 power until the end of the turn. So these two are a pretty cool combination at level 1, because if you have Dark Side Revolution, if you have the black one on the field and you have the white one on the field, they are 8/5 for no cost, which is pretty ridiculous. That's a lot of power. But of course, the downside is that they will die during your turn, and that's not good, because at level 1, if you leave your back row, if you leave your, you reverse your opponent's character. However, if your characters die in the process, that's not that good. You won for 1, but still you have an empty slot that your opponent will be abusing in the next turn to push for more damage. If you're level 1, before the first refresh, you are susceptible to taking a lot of damage, so it can backfire on you. Their climax combos are not bad, especially this one. When this card declares, reverses its opponent in battle with the pants, which is not that hard to accomplish since this is a 1085. If you have, let's say, 2 cards in the back row that give like 500, then she becomes a 1095, and then when you play the climax, she becomes a 10105. So she will reverse most things at level 1. And when you do, you get to search for Phantom Thief and add it to your hand. So you break even, and if you have multiple of these White Fallen Angels, then you get to plus. So not bad at all. Very solid climax combo. Dark Side Revolution, she not as solid. She gives extra power when she attacks, which is nice, but kind of unnecessary, because she's already a 1045, or she's already a 1085, assuming you have the white one on the field, and then the 1k1 soul itself will bump it to 1095. At that point, that's already so much power, but more power, the better. You can pump another Phantom Thief. You can pump herself. You can pump the White Fallen Angel to guarantee the reverse. So yeah, you can give it to the 1-0 White Angel, and then at that point, let's say she's a 1045, 8k, 85, with the climax 95, you pump her 10, 11, right? 10, no, 12k. She'll be 12k, so she can actually kill level 2s and level 3s at that point. So yeah, I guess the extra power is nice, and with the extra power, she's all that much more guaranteed to search. So yeah, cool little wombo combo you going on here. But also do keep in mind, when you use it in conjunction with this guy, since he sends 2 characters on your field to memory during the encore phase, you can, if you have him along with these 2, you play the climax, you search, you give power. During your encore phase, they both get sent to memory. And since they are sent to memory before the end phase, they don't actually go to waiting room. They stay in the memory, and next turn they'll come back. They'll be 8/5s because they're still on the field. This guy will give them more power. So they'll be 1-0 10/5s, which is just ridiculous at that point. And if you triggered pants, and then you get the pants back, then you just rinse and repeat, and then just annoy them with all these really strong costless level 1s that actually give you a lot of benefits by breaking even slash plussing, or giving extra power, and sending them to memory. So, little cool, interesting engine you got going on here. Seems like a lot of fun if you can get it to work. If you get it to work, I think this combo can be really devastating and really cool to work on your opponent. So yeah, um, if you're running a Phantom Thief deck, I do think this guy definitely mandatory. I think this girl's really good, and you know they're all really good. So if you're running the Phantom Thief deck, go run four of this, and like two or three of this, two or one to three of this guy. I would say two, and you know, try to go from there and run 4 pants because I think the combo is really cool. Anyways, let's go on. 1-0 backup invitation to be a Phantom Thief. It's a counter. If you have one or fewer climaxes in your waiting room, you cannot play this from your hand. As another effect of look at the top 4 cards of your deck, choose one Phantom Thief amongst them, add it to your hand, then discard the remaining amount. Since it's a backup, you can of course use it during your opponent's turn, and the nice thing about using it on your opponent's turn is you can use it like a free mill. Let's say your opponent attacks, you cancel, your opponent attacks, you cancel. They attack for a third time. If you don't feel like you're going to cancel that third attack, then you can play this event and look at the top 4 cards. You add one to your hand and the rest go to waiting room. If all of those were character cards, then you've actually increased your compress by a tremendous amount and making it that much more likely that you're going to cancel the next hit. But of course, this can backfire on you because if you do use this event and you look, and let's say the first card you look at is a climax, then you've essentially, you know, hurt yourself. Or if you looked at top 4 and you hit more than one climax, then once again you can hurt yourself because you've decreased your chance of canceling because you got rid of climaxes from your deck and then you put them into waiting room. So yeah, this card can backfire on you, but it can really push you ahead. It can make you cancel. It can help you cancel if this card works out. So dangerous, yes. However, is it worth the risk? I do think so. If with a little luck and a little, like, you know, how you feel, like you just gotta feel the flow of the deck, this card can really help you cancel. And it's not bad if you're running a Phantom Thief deck. Then you know, you actually get to get a character out of it. You can use it during your own turn, and you know, it's not bad at all. So definitely not bad. If you're running a Phantom Thief deck, I would definitely consider running this card. If you don't want to use it during your opponent's turn, you don't have to. You can use it during your own turn to get a free hand filter. But, you know, like I said, during your opponent's turn, this card can really save your life. So, definitely a solid card. This card can even be used in a normal Milky Holmes deck. If you don't have any Phantom Thieves, you can still use this card because the only restriction is that you need to have one or less climax in your waiting room. Or I should say, the only restriction is that you need to have more than one climax in your waiting room. But still, you can use it in the normal decks. You don't get to search for anything, but like I said, if you hit 4 characters, then you increase your chance to compress tremendously. So, a little, you know, I don't know. I don't think people are going to use it in the normal builds, but you know, just something to toss out there. You can use it in the normal decks, cause yeah. And once again, the pants. Oh man, this video is 43 minutes. This is a long one because there's so many level 3s like this one. So another level 3, 3295 double R. You got the Dress Shadow, Detective, and Camera. You have 6 or more climaxes in your waiting room. This loses 1 level in your hand, so it can come out level 2. When you have 2 more detectives, it gains plus 1k, so it'll be a 10/5. And lastly, it heals. Right off the bat, Shadow, very solid card. All 3 of her effects are very solid. They're nothing special, but that doesn't mean it's not good. So, she's detective trait, so, you know, a lot of the cards are detective, so right off the bat, that's good. If you have 6 or more climaxes in your waiting room, she loses 1 level in your hand, which is, you know, not too hard to accomplish. Or, you know, not the hardest thing to accomplish, I should say. And if you have 2 or more detectives, which is going to happen 99% of the time, unless you're just having a horrible game, she gets plus 1k. So she's oversized level 3 because she sits at 10/5 base. And lastly, when she's played from hand to stage, you get to heal 1. So heal, big power, comes out at level 2. Can't go wrong with this card at all. So if you're running red, definitely consider this card. I'm not too sure what uh, I'm not too sure what Milky Holmes ran for the level 2. I don't think they had much of a level 2 game, if I recall correctly. I know they had draw phase changes from 2 to 3, but draw phase change, is a bit slow. It's susceptible to bounce, and, it's slow. However, Shadow, she comes out fast, she heals, and she has big power. So, definitely a solid alternative to the draw phase changes. I'm not, like I said, I'm not too positive on what normal Milky Holmes deck ran for a level 2 game, if they ran a level 2 game at all. So do let me know if you're a Milky Holmes player. Would you run this card as your level 2 game? Because I'm not too sure if they have better alternatives. But from my point of view, just as a standalone card, this card is solid all across the board. Next up, more Shadow. There's 1 second. Alright, sorry about that. My mother was bothering me for a bit. Anyway, 001500. Double R, cool senior Shadow, detective and camera. What she does is, first she has a level swap ability. Tap two of your detective characters, I should say. Swap 1 card from your level area and choose with 1 card in your waiting room. And has another effect of is a pay 1 brainstorm, mill top 4 cards. For every climax amongst those, choose 1, search your deck for up to 1 detective character, show it to your opponent, add it to your hand, then discard a card, then shuffle your deck. I think this Shadow is very solid. The previous spammable brainstorm that Milky Holmes had, if I recall correctly, was a plus soul brainstorm, I believe. It gave soul to the brainstormer, and it was a 0025, if I'm not mistaken. Not the worst spammable brainstorm, but not the best either. I think this spammable brainstorm is a lot better because it's a level swapper. It's the level swapper, and it's a good hand filter because you get to search for detectives in your deck, add it to your hand, and you get to discard the same amount that you search. So a very good hand filter, and it has a level swap ability. So in general, this Shadow I think is very solid. If you want a good hand filter from your deck, you can't go wrong with this Shadow because it's a really good ability. But if you like the soul plus soul brainstorm, then I think you could run the other one. I think this one's really good, so I do think this one will be the one played over. I think this will be the new spammable brainstorm that will replace the old plus soul one. But that's just me, I could be wrong, but I think it will be. Only problem is that this is double R. Yikes. Anyways, let's go on. 104K to stop being useless Shadow, detective, and camera. What she does is this ability can be activated once per turn. When you place a climax in your level area, this card gains plus 2/5 power. There's another ability of when this card declares an attack with the climax, let's go home and have some food, which is the plus 2k1 soul climax here. All your characters gain plus 1 soul until the end of the turn. This Shadow is okay. It's a 104k, which is very undersized. However, when you place a climax in your level up area, she becomes a 1065. Of course, this is really good when you use in conjunction with the backup, the PR backup, or heck, even the one that we saw on Wednesday, because it does put a climax in your level up area from the waiting room. So of course, like let's say this is a 104k, their opponent attacks it, you use the backup, it gains plus 3k power, so it's a 107k, and then her ability kicks off, and then she becomes a 109k on defending, which can be very problematic for your opponent to deal with. However, if you're using other cards that require experience, like let's say, I know the 10 Cordelia, the blue one, the 10 Cordelia, that's blue, I think it's 4/5. I believe she requires experience 2. So if you're using other cards that require X amount of experience 1, experience 2, experience 3, then this card can hurt you because it has to be a climax. And at level 1, if you only have a climax in your level up area, your other cards that require X amount of experience don't gain their abilities because you need to constantly put climaxes in your level up area for her to become more powerful. So she hurts your other characters However, if you don't run any if you don't run any X experienced characters like the Cordelia, then I guess you can run this as your 1-0 attacker because if you keep putting climaxes in your level up area with your level swapper, something like this, then she's constantly a 1065, and once again, if you use her conjunction with the 10 backup, then she becomes a 1095 before assist, and that can just be very annoying for your opponent to deal with on defending. So, or when they're attacking you and you're using it on defense, it can be really hard for your opponent to deal with. So, yeah. Her secondary effect, or actually, okay, another thing to mention about our first ability is, of course, if you're about to refresh, you're not going to use this ability. If you have like 5 cards left in deck, you don't want to put a climax in your level up area with the backup, because if you refresh with a climax in your level up area, that really sucks because that lowers your compress, and just keep that in mind. There'll be turns where you can't use her ability because it's gonna force you to refresh with one less climax in your deck, and at that point it's not worth it because you want to have as much climaxes in your waiting room when you refresh as possible. So, uh, you know, just something to keep in mind. And lastly, her 2k1 ability, it's okay. The 2k1 breaks even, so that's already pretty good. And of course, when you use it, all your characters gain +1 soul for the turn, which is not bad. You get to push for extra damage by, usually when a player wants to push for extra damage at level 1, they usually have to use a 1k1 soul climax or a +2 soul climax or a stock 1 soul climax. Those are all minus in hand size. However, the Shadow climax combo gives all your characters +1 soul, and you don't lose any hand size, and you don't lose any stock. So her climax combo is not bad at all. It breaks even, it gives you extra power, and it gives all your characters +1 soul, giving you more ways to push for extra damage without minusing hand size. Because other decks, like let's say Nisekoi, if they want to push for damage, they gotta use a climax combo, which isn't too hard with the Tachibana, but still, doesn't minus you in hand size for pushing. If you want to push for extra damage, it doesn't minus you in hand size, is the point I'm trying to make. So this Shadow, if you're not running like X experienced characters, then then you can consider it, but like I said, dangerous and might not be used all the time because it might make you refresh with one less climax. And if you're not using the level swapping with this card, it's only a 104k. So I don't really like it. I don't really like. I think her climax combo is okay. It's not bad at all. But I don't know. The first effect is just a little iffy. So I don't know. If you are a Milky Holmes player, let me know what you guys think about this card. It's also in yellow, and from what I heard from a previous commenter, and what I have seen as well, Milky Holmes does seem to be their weakest color. So, it's also in yellow, so that's something to keep in mind. Is it worth running yellow for this card? Don't think so. I like the Nido, though. I think that's cool, but whatever. Let's go on. 3/3 uncommon event, fake Kokoro. Kinda random tossing a red Kokoro card on Friday. Shouldn't they have tossed the Kokoro card with Kokoro on Tuesday? Whatever. Anyways, let's see. Fake Kokoro. If when you do not have a police character on the field, you cannot play this card from your hand. This event is deal X damage to your opponent, where X is the number of climaxes in your waiting room. And it has another effect. Choose one of your characters against +4k until the end of the turn. Of course, this card should be used in your police decks. Okay, first of all, you need to have a police character on the field, which I don't know if there's good police cards in the normal builds. So I'm not too sure on that. But still, this card, it's okay. Event game enders aren't that good just because they're very cost heavy and they do minus you in hand size, much like this one. You pay 3. If you have, you deal X depending on how much climaxes are in your waiting room. If you have like 5 climaxes in your waiting room, your opponent's most likely to cancel that. But if they do cancel it, then that's one less cancel for them. If they don't cancel it, then they're pretty much dead. Still, to be honest, I'm not a fan of these game-ending events, so I personally wouldn't run it. And, now Milky Holmes they still have the Halloween PR, they have a clock shooter now, so will they need the extra boost from this event? I don't really think so, and this event varies. If you refresh, you have no climaxes just in your waiting room, this card is dead, but there's usually always one or two climaxes, and even if you're poking for 2 damage with this climax, it's still pretty good, because like I said, if it hits, good. If it misses, that's one less cancel for them. So, it's playable, but like I said, personally, I'm not a fan of game-ending events. So, yeah, that's just my 2 cents on that. I personally wouldn't run it, but it's not the worst card ever. And once again, the 2K1 is a climax common. And that is all for this video, guys. A 55-minute video. This has to definitely is one of the longest one we've had in a very long time. But definitely a lot of interesting cards appearing this week. Some cool Alice / Kazumi cards. I think the Eddie is cool if you're running gold bars. Kokoro, staple in the police builds. This other Kokoro, of course, once again, staple in the police builds. More Alice Kazumi synergy, which is not bad. I really like this Nero. I don't think it's the best, but I like it. I like being stock efficient, so I really like it. I think it's cool. Not bad having another backup. It's meh, and it's cool. Phantom Thieves guys, they got some pretty cool stuff. I think I think the synergy behind these Phantom Thieves guys are actually pretty funny and pretty cool. This event, once again, I think is pretty cool, pretty awesome, hit or miss, dangerous, but I think it's cool that way. And lastly, Shadow, very solid all across the board. Senior Shadow, very good spammable brainstorm. This one, iffy, and once again, iffy, and yeah, solid 2K1 climax combo. And yeah, that is all for this video, guys. Once again, if you have any comments on these Milky Holmes cards, something I'm missing, like I still don't know what is this other card that it brings out? I still don't know, so if you guys do know, let me know, please. But that is all for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it, and until next time.